I had the Lick, Mr. Jazz, Mr. Quad, Mr. DIY, and Mr. Sona's favorite, Listen to It. I brought it to 3 different locations and tried it with 7 amplifiers myself.
What's up, guys? I am working very hard on all my upcoming DAC videos to talk about the gazillion DACs that I'm going through, and the adventure's still not done. But let's take a little break from my journey, from my adventure. I just wanted to do a little follow-up. I think most of you saw Thomas's Stereo's latest video on the Pearl Acoustics Sibelius SG.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
The ones that have a they're single 4-range drivers, no crossovers, gorgeous wood, real wood cabinet, really nice. Why am I making a little video on them is because I had them in my room, as maybe some of you have noticed, for a few weeks. I used them with 2 different amps, with 14 different DACs, and in 2 different areas. So I can show you guys, I have in my sound room, I have 2 areas where I evaluate gear. I have one that is acoustically treated, and I have the second area, the back part of the room, that is sort of just mimicking a traditional living room. So there's no, there's very little acoustic treatment. There's hardly anything. There's nothing on the ceiling. Simple carpet. I think I have one diffuser. I have a diffuser on one side, but that's it. So anyways, back to the Sibelius speakers. Am I just bouncing all over the place? Yeah, I am, eh? Sorry about that. So the Sibelius speakers, so I tried them with 2 amplifiers. I tried them with my own Melody audio with the 211 tubes. If you want to know more about that one, go check out my latest video on it. I tried it also with one of Deckware's amplifiers. I'm not going to go yet into details about Deckware's amplifier because, quite simply, again, that was a contribution for Thomas & Stereo. So the reason I was able to actually play and use it was thanks to Thomas for lending it to me so that I could try it. But that also comes with an understanding that, you know, he has to get his videos and edited done before I just take advantage of him giving me amps to make content for my channel. And besides, that's not what I'm about. I don't want to make necessarily reviews of gear. So anyways, so the Sibelius speakers. What I gave Thomas as a feedback is like the sundae with the cherry and the sweetness. So that's my way of saying how sweet the sound that comes out of these speakers were. It really was. At first, the first thing that hit me, the difference between the open baffle speakers that I have now and these, so the soundstage didn't feel like as dramatic and large as it does with the open baffle speakers. But I got over that instantly, within a few minutes, because, I mean, the tone of the instruments, guys, with these speakers was just fluid and like warm honey, and it was so pleasant to listen to. I kept forgetting I had to analyze, and I had to come up with notes and information so that I could, you know, give something to Thomas so that he could talk about it. And yeah, I guess I'm not that valuable of an audiophile pal. All I did was I sent him a description of a sundae. Sorry, Thomas. But I completely agree with what Thomas says, and especially as far as the bass is concerned, man, us audiophiles seem to get stuck, like really get stuck on some concepts that work with some types of music, but doesn't work with all types of music. So when you have tight bass, it's good in some cases, but in some other cases you don't want that ultra tight bass. You want a bit of decay in the room. And I'm not saying I want boominess in the room. I want to feel that bass extend a little bit longer. The same way I think a lot of us enjoy hearing high notes with a longer decay. Like, if I'm a fan of brass instruments, I don't want the brass instrument to sound like they're, like they're a bunch of ones and zeros and it's digital and it stops. No, if I'm in a room and someone plays a brass instrument, I am going to hear that brass instrument even after they're done playing for like a few milliseconds in the room. There is an echo effect, there's a reverb effect. So when it comes to bass, I feel the same way. So I'm happy Thomas pointed it out, because it's very, very true. I mean, or very true. I agree with it. I completely agree with it. I think it makes total sense. I love tight bass, but sometimes I don't want the bass to be ultra tight. I want that little extension that keeps going. Other point I thought was absolutely spot on. I mean, I've only tried it with 2 amplifiers here, but man, with both amplifiers, it was beautiful. And I think that really says a lot about the impact maybe of a crossover in a speaker. Guys, you need a crossover when you have multiple drivers. You can go around it, I guess, depending on the matching of your speakers. You don't necessarily have to have a crossover between every driver that's in your speaker, but most of the time you do. When you don't have a crossover, you don't need one, which is often the case with full range drivers, because there's one driver handling the full spectrum. You really get to see what an amplifier does to the presentation. Actually, you get to see a lot of what your components do to the presentation when you change them, because you don't have that final coloring element that could potentially come from the crossover's parts or the way the crossover's built. And that's why when you see guys like GR Research, what do you think the first thing they attack when they rebuild the speakers? They attack the crossover. A lot of it comes in there. So I thought that was really cool that Thomas highlighted that. I was crossing my fingers that that would be a topic that he would that he would let you guys all know, because it's the full range drivers. There's a little magic about them, and when you understand what that is, I'm not sure about Thomas's fruit there that tastes like poo. He said, Thomas, I don't care how often we eat poo, it still tastes like poo. Anyways, there's a bit of magic to the full range drivers. So yeah, this was awesome. All right, so let me get to the 2 spaces in the room to give you guys an idea of how I set them up and how I listen to them. All right, so this is my room. Those are my guitars. Love my guitars. I might love them more than my sound system. Maybe. I don't know. All right, so this is the area that I usually that I use. That is, I guess I'll call it acoustically treated. So you have some treatments on the ceiling here. You have it's mostly wooden diffusion. You have some absorption on the walls. Yes, it's great for your soundstage to have diffusion at these reflection points instead of absorption. However, in my room, why I have absorption here, because I had diffusion at one point, because the distance of the sidewall is not even to the positioning of the speakers, not ideal. I get it. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to destroy my entire basement and rebuild it properly as soon as I can. But because it was off to the side, I had diffusion coming from one side and diffusion from an unequal distance on the other. All I kept hearing was that it caused a slight shift in the soundstage to a certain side. And it's funny because the one time Thomas was here to listen to my sound system, he was here actually with Mr. Kanta. That's right, Mr. Kanta. They both felt like the image kept pulling to one side. Anyway, since I put absorption on both sides, that issue is pretty much gone. All right, so this is where I first started with the Sibelius speakers, right? So the first thing I do is I set them up in a way that they're, I guess, optimal positioning. So they have a good 4.5-5 feet from the wall. They have by default I'll start with an equal triangle from the speakers to my listening position, and then I'll play with them. I'll check the distance until I get them just right, and then after that I'll play with the toe in to see if it's needed. With the Sibelius, I didn't find it was that needed actually. They sounded pretty yeah, I found it didn't need it that much. I mean, yeah, sure. When I towed them in a little bit, it cranked up the it cranked up a little bit of the sparkle. It added a bit more sparkle. But I'm not about the sparkle, so I preferred maximizing their soundstage because I'm a big fan of the soundstage. So I want to feel like I'm immersed into the sound more. But like you probably saw in Thomas's video, not everybody strives for that. Some people want that sparkliness. So if you want the sparkliness with the Sibelius, toe them in a little bit more, aim them a bit more at your ear, and you'll get a little bit more of that sparkliness. And of course, like you said, depending on the amplifier you match it with, that's where you can also improve. So anyways, yeah, so as you see, the melody's right here, and I got other things that I'm having fun with. So now once I'm done with this area here and listening, that gives me an idea of, all right, a potential of a speaker. Then I have the back area. The back area, which has like, there's a bit of a separator, so you'd be very surprised actually, even though this part here is kind of treated, at the difference in sound between sitting right here versus sitting over there. So then what I do is I bring the speakers over here, bring the gear over onto this side where I try to mimic, I guess, a traditional living room, right? The TV, there's a couch, this is, you know, reflections galore, there's nothing here, nothing there. These don't do crap. They're there just for fun. I think I'm just going to put flowers or something, like a bucket. Anyways, who cares? This is just a simple diffuser, and there's nothing on the ceiling. It's just wood. I guess it could have some minor diffusion properties from the unevenness, but let's face it, if it does, it's very tiny, very little in the high frequencies. Anyways, so right here, you know, I'll set up the amp, the sources, and so on and so forth right here. I get the guitars out of the way, get this damn chair out of the way here. Sorry about that. I set up the speakers like they would in a typical living room, meaning they are not 10 feet apart. They're kind of closer to the wall. And it's more of a realistic scenario. And at the same time here, I use it with a regular outlet as opposed to a dedicated outlet, two dedicated circuits with some expensive nanocrystallized outlets. Maybe that's snake oil. I don't know. But if anyone knows what snake oil smells like, let me know. Someone made a comment about the smell of snake oil. I'd like to know what that smells like. But anyway, so the power here is just regular traditional power. There's nothing fancy. So I sit down and I listen to them for almost as many evenings as I do in the acoustic area. And what that does is it gives me a different perspective of the difference of how they sound, the speakers, compared to a fully treated room. And what was the difference between the two? They're listed right here in my palm of my hand. So the Sibelius, I also use it with a bunch of DACs. So Thomas mentioned that I think it was Mr. Jazz. Mr. Jazz rated the combo of the Sibelius, the Deckware, and the Denafrips Venus 2 a 10 on 10. I'm reluctant to give 10 on 10s to anything, but the Venus 2 with Deckware, with Sibelius, I won't give it a 10 on 10, but I'm going to give it a 9.8. It was really good. It was that good. The tonality and the timbre that the Venus 2 brought to the sound wave that was then amplified by the Deckware and then executed by the Sibelius was nothing short of glorious. It was very, very good. And so I mean, it's interesting, right? So I had a couple people actually after seeing Thomas's video reach out to me that know me and said, "Oh man, cool! I didn't know you use those speakers, right?" And they were like, do you think that, you know, the value, the price that these speakers are selling for, do you think, like, you know, is the cost warranted? So that's so subjective. I don't know. I can't say. What I can say, however, is the amount of love and labor that goes into those cabinets. Sorry guys, but I think it's going to be over 10 grand or in the next few years if you want to get Sibelius speakers, because the price of wood is not going down, price of labor is not going down, and quality craftsmanship is becoming rarer and rarer. So speakers like these, if you value looks and you value the quality of the finish, they're worth every penny. Absolutely. From a sound perspective, what am I going to compare it to? Did they sound 10 times better than the little budget speakers that Thomas lent me to compare that were worth 1/10 the price? Were they 10 times better? I'll say yes. But is it because the Sibelius were 10 times better, or is it because the other ones that shall remain nameless were 10 times worse? Nope, I'm not going to stop recording there. I will play you a song, so here goes.